Hello, everybody. Welcome to Prove It Live. This is our first recorded broadcast. Welcome. I'm Mike Freary from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute, along with my co-host, Kevin McGovern of Perfect Motion Sports Therapy. So today, folks, we're going to talk about something we touched on in one of our recent broadcasts in relation to the Hall of Fame inductees or that lack thereof this season. For the first time, if you can remember, since 2013. There have been there was zero people selected to go to the Hall of Fame. Curt Schilling was the closest at 71%. So we want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into what we talked about that day, because I know, both myself and Kevin, we both have opinions on this subject, and we wanted to hash them out. We also had some things I think that are just interesting for discussion, questions, really, right? I mean, there's been lots of talk over recent years, over the past decade, really, or more, about who should be allowed in, who shouldn't, performance-enhancing drugs, etc. These other things that are keeping people out of the Hall of Fame. That being the main one, of course. And I think really the only other one, Kevin, is Pete Rose. So it's not really topical, but it is something I know I want to touch on because I think it's absurd. So anyway, how long can Major League Baseball do this? How long can they keep people out for, the opinion of sports writers that this guy may have cheated, or this guy has poor politics, or, this one was, a bad husband, or whatever it might be. So we kind of want to dig into that a little bit. So I think we should start off, Kevin, right? We know that steroids is illegal. It is an illegal and banned substance in Major League Baseball. What's the reason that it's banned?
Well, I mean, I think it's definitely banned because it's a prescribed substance. It's not illegal, meaning that if you if you find it in your car and it's prescribed, you're going to the big house. Okay, so it's definitely there is a medical benefit to steroids. Thyroid conditions, cancer, because what from and I'm no steroid expert, but you know, steroids repairs the body quickly. People think that you inject it and you look like Hulk Hogan the next day. No, you look like Hulk Hogan or after many days, because when you're working out, the body is always breaking down, right? The muscles
Right.
tearing, that's how you atrophy. And steroids just like speeds those recovery. I mean, I've personally been on steroids. I had mono in college, and if it wasn't for a steroid called prednisone, I'd probably,
Yeah.
would have literally not been able to swallow. So there is obviously a medical use for steroids, I mean, or organ transplants, all that kind of stuff. When we want to really decrease inflammation, okay, and speed healing, that's what it's for.
Okay. Now, so when muscles, if I understand this correctly, muscles grow not necessarily when you're stressing it, like if you're doing a physical weightlifting exercise, but actually when you tear those small fibers in that exercise, and when they heal on the days of rest, they grow bigger to be able to support that weight the next time. Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much my, like I said, non sort of pseudo expert as
Yeah.
what it does. Yeah, I mean when you exercise, that's the body's always breaking down and repairing itself. So I have been in, work with, know some, may have run into some people who have, used that, and the consensus is I feel like it's April 1st every day of the week, meaning you don't have the problem in August or September when you're 140 games into it, and
Right.
you're slower because you've just played 140 games.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's taxing, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the old baseball player Brian Jordan. I think you probably
Yep.
remember.
I
For
remember him.
both Cardinals, both the football Cardinals and the baseball Cardinals, and they asked, what's worse, football or baseball? And he's like, well, baseball. Well, what do you mean? He's like, well, look, there's nothing in the world. I'm paraphrasing here.
Right.
Nothing in the world is worse than two a days in August for football. There's nothing. But come September 1st when the season starts, we don't get hit again except on Sunday, and then we had,
Right.
2-3 days off. We run through films. We're back on a plane. Like playing baseball, I foul a ball off my foot on Tuesday. I slide into second and skin my knee on Wednesday, and I slightly pull my hammy on Thursday. I don't get a rest because I'm playing
Right.
6, 7, sometimes 12 days in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no rest whatsoever. So, like, no matter what, you got to deal with it, play the next night. So, I think in a nutshell, what we're saying here is that steroids are illegal because they enhance performance, right? They're going to enhance a player's performance. And we all know that if you're taking steroids, especially a synthetic steroid, and you're taking even just testosterone, but you know, I'm thinking of names like equipoise and Deca, some of those anabolic steroids, you're going to get big. I mean, that's everybody knows that. And Kevin, you probably see it too. I don't know why this is. You could probably answer it better than I can, but I always feel like I can tell. I have a pretty good idea if someone's been taking steroids. They always have their traps are a lot bigger than they're supposed to be. Like the smaller muscles seem a lot bigger than they're supposed to be, the calves, and then another another drug, if you will, HGH, you'll actually even start to see like bone structure change, which we'll talk about a little bit. But point is, you're going to get bigger. I mean, you're definitely going to get bigger. You're going to get stronger. And I use the 1999 All-Star game as an example, and I still would recommend everyone go watch at least that first two innings. Pedro Martinez pitched. And by the way, do you know who's pitching for the National League that game? Who started? Pedro started for the American League, and take a stab at who started for the National League.
Curt Schilling.
Yes, sir. Very good. That's Curt Schilling who started for the National League.
I think I was at that game. I was at Fenway, right?
That was the one at Fenway. Yeah.
At that game. Yes. Okay.
Great game. Pedro strikes out 5 of the first 6 monsters that comes to the plate, and includes Sammy Sosa, and included Rafael Palmeiro, and included Mark McGwire. But everyone that walked to the plate was just like, huge. They were just these monsters.
Like a men's slow pitch fast pitch.
It was. That's exactly what it was. That's a good point. That's what it looked like. And so you can see now, you can compare that to a more recent All-Star game. They're going to look a lot smaller today. And that was the thing. And look, Kevin, I think you'd agree that baseball sort of needed it at the time, right? 1998, baseball was still reeling from the big strike in 95. The viewership was down, ticket sales were down, and along comes Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. And as Greg Maddux said then, chicks dig the long ball, right?
Yep.
Fans dug the long ball, and they basically saved the sport. I mean, they really did, right?
Absolutely. I mean, people knew McGwire, but they didn't really know. I mean, Sammy Sosa was kind of like a no-name until boom,
right?
What happened, right? No one knew. I mean, he wasn't a superstar by any means.
No, he wasn't. He was like, he would think he was a good player, but
yeah,
you're right. Like, not a household name like McGwire. McGwire had 49 home runs his first year, his rookie year, broke the record, right? So
the Bash brothers in Oakland, him and Canseco, another.
Canseco, right? So talk about, geez, I wonder where Mark McGwire got the idea, because it's funny. If you look at a picture of McGwire from '89, and they were the Bash brothers, but he wasn't exceptionally big. I mean, he was, right? I mean, he's naturally a big guy.
He's what, 6'4" or 5"? He's a big dude to begin with.
Yeah. Big dude, but not overly massive. Of course, Jose Canseco was, shredded to the gild, jacked. He used to whip the bat around like a toothpick. I mean, and this is 80. I think that was 88. Yeah, 88, 89. That era, and everybody knew Jose Canseco was on steroids at the time. I mean, it was like no secret. And they fast forward to the mid to late 90s, and it just seems like everybody was juicing. And so this leads to my argument for why nobody should be left out of the Hall of Fame for steroids. Is that reason? Is if that's the case, then you almost have to, because a lot of this is speculation. This isn't just people that we know for a fact took steroids. This is speculation, and look, and some based on evidence. Okay, right? But not everyone that they're keeping out was suspended for steroids or fined for use of steroids. It's speculation. So if you're going to speculate, then you got to take that entire era out and you go, oh, nobody in from that era, right?
Right.
Nobody. And
Right.
that's bananas to me.
Yeah, and then I think the purpose of this is this twofold. Number one, we're in February of 2021, and the cancel culture is something of like epic proportions right now. If you're not liked by the media, they're killing you. I mean,
Right.
Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens aren't liked by the media at all. Kurt Schilling, not liked by me. Kurt Schilling has never been, as far as I know, been accused of steroids. But I mean,
Nope. One of the few that hasn't.
yeah, we're talking about arguably the best pitcher in modern day history, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking
Postseason anyway.
Yeah, we're talking about but I mean, I'm talking about Clemens. Like we're
Oh,
talking,
sure. Yeah. Clemens for sure.
talking 1, 2, top 5 best pitchers of all time.
Yep.
We're
Agreed.
talking about the greatest home run hitter of all time.
Yep.
They're not in the Hall of Fame now. Their stuff's in the Hall of Fame. Their shirts in the Hall of Fame. All that kind of stuff. But I think the purpose of today's show is, well, what's performance enhancing?
Right. Because there's a lot, right?
And we're going to get people to talk about what actually is a lot, coming from my perspective and yours.
Yes. So good question. So I'm going to try to answer that. So performance enhancing to me is anything that you can take or utilize, apply, that's going to allow you to perform better than you would without it, right? Pretty basic, pretty common sense, way to look at it, I think. And with that being said, we know that there are dozens, and I would even say hundreds, but I don't know the exact number. So I'm going to go in the low end, and I'm going to say dozens and dozens of MLB players on Adderall and with prescriptions, right? So it's legal because they have a prescription for it. I know that there's substances that people use in the game that help. I know that, like pine tar is used by players, pitchers and players, right? Infielders get a little stick on the ball, better control. For pitchers, it's going to, they're going to get more spin because they're going to have more attack on the ball. And I don't think this is a new thing. This has been done for years and years. And so, what's the cutoff? That's the thing. What's the cutoff? Because
Curry and Phil Niekro and all those other guys.
Right. I mean,
ball right from there.
This steroid era thing aggravates me because everybody was taking them. If you look at the Mitchell report, there's guys that you would never, and look, in pitchers, like all the pitchers are using too. So it wasn't like this unfair advantage necessarily. The pitchers were taking it just as well as the hitters. Now, could you imagine, Kevin? I always think about this, and this is sort of what happened with Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is this superior player, superior athlete, and he sees a guy like Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa who came out of the blue, jacked, right? Looks like a bodybuilder, putting up all these home runs. And Barry Bonds is going, they're making a big deal out of these guys. Like, yeah, if I were doing what they were doing, I'd do this. I'd shatter what they're doing. And that's, and if I don't know his actual motivation, right? I'm guessing, right? I'm sort of just my opinion on it. But and he does it, and sure enough. Now the crazy thing about what he did was, as they weren't trying to let him break that home run record. They were not trying to throw strikes to him. I mean, it was so remarkable that
he got intentionally walked with the bases loaded. How many times?
Several, right? I know. And then if they missed, they didn't have to miss by much. They put that thing near the plate. Boom. See you later. I mean, it was one of the most impressive things you could ever see in a baseball field. But anyway, everybody to me everyone's doing it. So when you have everybody doing it, the stars who are going to be the stars are still the stars. They're putting up bigger numbers. That's all, right? But like I said, pitchers doing it, and this wasn't just the starters and the big names. It was middle relievers, it was closers, it was third and fourth starters, right? And that's why it also went down to the seventh guy in the lineup. So my opinion is they all get in. We know what the era was.
Yep.
Everybody knows, it's been talked about ad nauseum. Everybody should get in. So now what? Now where are we? So what about today? I don't think steroids is as prevalent as it was then, clearly. But to think that people aren't using things to enhance their performance now is just really naive. I'd sort of make the argument, and I'd like to get your take on it because, obviously you're in the field of medicine. I personally believe, my opinion is that Adderall is a bigger enhancer of performance than steroids. What do you think?
So I had a minor league pitcher, a former first round draft pick, tell me that when he was on, because Adderall, for those who don't know, is an ADHD drug. He said when he was on that to pitch, I mean, the focus was like it was like the catcher's glove looked like a beach ball. It was
Right.
just like so. I mean, getting your brain focused on a task. I mean, that's our hard drive, man.
Yeah,
If that's not performance enhancing, I don't know what is. Right?
I agree with you because I always looked at, what really separated big leaguers versus other minor leaguers, say, that were really good ball players or even collegiate baseball players. What separated those guys in the pros and the big leagues was their ability to lock in. They were so
Or
locked in, right?
was we've seen that documentary. Certainly not the best golf swing in the history of golf. Locked in mentally.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and that's I think that goes probably for every sport, right? To be able to just to lock in and to be hyper focused on the task. And you know, part of the training we do at the farm, we have, a sports psychologist come in, and it's not even really sports psychology. It's really learning how to focus. It's focus techniques, and how to clear off the noise, and how to shed failure so you're not thinking about the error you made and all that stuff. And if you can do that, the guys that do that are by far and away the better players. It's just that simple. And so now here we are. We've got a whole generation of kids and players taking this thing that does exactly that for them.
So what you're saying is their performance was increased.
Their performance is absolutely increased.
Okay.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely increased.
rather than maybe get it out of a bottle, they got it
Right.
out of another medium to improve their performance. So the whole big question of
Right.
this whole thing is what exactly is performance enhancing? My argument would be everything.
Yep.
Like, okay, so you've made steroids illegal. There are guys in the Hall of Fame that are coke heads, right?
Sure.
All
100%. And by the way, that's speed. That's like ADD, right? I mean, Adderall, that's which is an amphetamine.
speed was prevalent. I mean, go and look at interviews of players who played in the 70s and 80s. Speed was prevalent.
Yes. Talk about the greenies.
Right, the greenie, right, prevalent. They're in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, they're in the hall and they're not coming out.
Where did steroids get this evil connotation? I don't know. I mean, I look at, as you know, I do some work for, a three-letter company,
Yep.
WWE. That's had its issues with steroids. That's had its issues with wrestlers dying very early due to, you know, issues of steroids, drugs, and that kind of thing that's take its toll on the human body. But you've heard the term. We've all heard the term. There's a famous wrestler Chris Benoit, who essentially, you know, maybe he was using steroids to somehow mask depression, but ended up killing his wife, his at least one child, if not two, and himself.
Yeah.
And they've talked about roid rage.
I know.
I've never heard of roid rage. I've never heard of Barry Bonds even yelling at somebody.
No.
Or Roger Clemens, like, are they on steroids or are they on something? I mean, I don't. I just have never heard of them ripping up a locker room or anything like that. So
I think it's the fall guy.
I agree.
I really do. I think it's a fall guy. Do you remember like the after school specials back when we were growing up, like in the 80s? And I remember they had one like in the early 90s about steroids, and it was so over the top. You know
Right.
what I mean? And look, I'll be honest. I knew people that took steroids. I know,
Oh,
and I,
oh,
I never took them in my life. I knew people that took them,
you're just
and
naturally that body's all natural for you.
all natural, baby.
That's
Yep,
a good thing. Yeah, it's a
yep.
good job.
You
Yeah.
would think you don't just get this the way by drinking
Oh,
the water, but
yeah. But yeah, I would
hey,
think, right?
you're welcome. So yeah, but I knew, we knew guys that used them, and I know that there was some that was like a secret that most people didn't know that they were using them even. And look, I'm guessing that there probably is some truth to some of those, roid raging incidents or whatever, but I had never personally seen, and I don't think they're nearly as prevalent as they made out to be. Now, what was prevalent then that we didn't know until now is like CCE, right? Concussions that and that was all sports. And we talk about wrestling. I'm sure those guys were being concussed left and right.
Yeah.
Um, so that was real, So
Yeah.
I mean, how can you boil it down to just one thing? I don't think that you can. Last I'm going to say is mixed in with all this with the steroids is HGH, and everyone we kind of lump it all into one thing, but it is different. And it is HGH is human growth hormone. It is a hormone. It is something that you produce, right? But it does act like a steroid in that it basically, I don't know this well, and I'll probably sound like an idiot, but I think it regenerates cells a
So
lot faster in your body, right? And at a rate that it would when you were younger or at a more
it regulates
youthful.
the body too, as far as like sleep and like the relaxation parts of how we have to regenerate with like rest and all that kind of thing. I mean, like I'm gonna go on a Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds are not in the Hall of Fame for one reason and one reason only. It's not steroids. They're not liked. Okay. Right
It,
after we had talked about, right after we had talked about Schilling, the biggest Schilling nemesis in the Boston area, is a sports writer by the name of Dan Shaughnessy.
the
In my
human Q-tip.
Yeah, in my opinion, a pompous prick. That's what he is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Like he's, somehow better than everybody else. But he literally got on another podcast and literally said, well, he didn't vote after voting for Schilling for many years. Hasn't voted for him, not because of Schilling's political stand, but he believes that Schilling's numbers are not Hall of Fame like, which I just found just incredibly
Please.
ignorant. Incredible. I mean, here's this, and this is again,
Then there'll never be another pitcher in the Hall of Fame then, according to him.
right? Never,
Right.
never. Like, I mean, you think Trevor Bauer's getting the Hall of Fame? He ain't gonna win that. I mean, no chance. Okay,
He's
he's
not
got
gonna have that many wins. He's not gonna have that many strikeouts.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just to say that is, and like you said, we can look onto a field. We know who the Hall of Famers are. You know who they are. I mean, you
Right.
just, Roger Clemens is a Hall of Famer. Roger Clemens was a Hall of Famer when he left Boston. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer when he left Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yep.
There's, I mean, who's gonna? What did he do? Like 40 homers and 40 steals. No one is
Yeah.
ever going to do that.
No.
God, the
No.
guys today. I mean, 40 steals could be that of an entire team for the season. Or if guys steal 40 bases now, there's a good chance they'll end up on the DL for 30 of those runs. I mean,
There you go. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're just not durable people now.
No one's going to be healthy enough to do that. And the only way that somebody would is if they did have the stroke of luck to be healthy enough. And in 20 years now, because they keep making these baseball fields smaller and smaller and smaller. So maybe, right. But they're definitely not going to have the length of career that Barry Bonds had to do what he did. Not a chance.
You think another pitcher is going to throw 5,000 innings?
No. Nope.
Right,
Not even close.
That's what he has, like 5,000 innings, right? Something like that.
Yeah, because over 3,000 strikeouts, it's not happening because even if they stay healthy, even if you have a guy that never jumps on the DL, they're not going to allow them to pitch past 6 innings. This is coming. This is the way the sport is now, right? And it's strategic. Look at, and I don't even hate it from a strategy standpoint. Like, if all right, you get a guy say, hey, look, why do I want a batter getting a third look at my pitcher? All right, makes sense. Yeah, throw someone else out there, give him a different look. I don't hate the strategy. But that said, I'm just making the point that they're not going to have pitchers aren't going to have the opportunity to even put up those kind of numbers. It's just not going to happen. And to get back to your point about Clemens and Bonds and what frustrates me and to me what the crux of this is that they're not in because they're considered widely. It's just known they're cheaters. They're cheaters, dude. How many guys? I mean, if you look into Hall of Famers, how many of them cheated? How many of them like did
All,
right? I mean,
all cheating. I mean, you've got a bulky knee, and you're having the trainer inject you with whatever so you can play on the field so someone else doesn't take your spot. Is that cheating? It's performance enhancing,
yep. And
right?
look at yes, it is. And look at what technology does to baseball today, right? And I think I mentioned this before, but what would a guy like Ted Williams had done had he been able to watch video of a pitcher that he was going to face? If he had like gone to study film on a pitch,
10
it,
different.
yeah, 10 different angles, see every pitch location, the speed, the spin rate, everything. What would he have done to those pitchers? He can go analyze his last at bat in real time right after his at bat down, in the dugout. Like, what is that
Oh,
not an advantage? That's a huge advantage.
can also tap something too. Sorry, throwback joke. That's sorry.
Sorry. But yeah, I really think about that. Now you could say, well, yeah, but Ted Williams didn't face Aroldis Chapman. They didn't have closers coming in throwing 100 and blah blah blah. Fair, fair. Okay, that's fair. Also, though, other than Aroldis Chapman, you got lots of closers that would never even be in the major leagues in Ted Williams' era. There were just way less teams. It's not as watered down, right? I mean, so you could argue point counterpoint, but the fact that but the of the
Maybe
matter
maybe
that there's
Aroldis Chapman wouldn't even be in the major leagues back then because he only has one pitch.
right
You have to pitch more than one inning. That ain't gonna happen. Look at that.
point.
I
Yeah,
mean,
right. Or he gets hurt. Right, exactly. So
Gossage 2, 3. I mean, he talk about. I mean, those are
yeah,
guys.
those are
Pitch
the
for
old
3 innings.
old school saves, right? The 3 inning save. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even think it's a thing anymore. Right. I don't even hear it about it anymore.
Relief pitcher throws 3 innings. It goes on. It's like front page news. He went
Right.
3 innings. It's
For the hold. Got the
yeah,
hold.
right. The whole
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's but yeah, I think about that and oh, and by the way, now this isn't technically cheating, right? But another example that's cheating from the organizational standpoint. If anyone's ever been to Fenway Park, the bullpen is in right field. It's right over the right field wall. That's not where they used to be. They used to be along the sidelines just like most major league parks. But when they had Ted Williams and he was a lefty, they wanted to make it easier for him to hit home runs. He used to hit them into the bleachers,
right.
right? I think he played 3
Yeah.
seasons having to hit him over there, right? And so they made it shorter for him.
Is that what they did?
Yep, that's what they did. And
They still have a park. Is that still up? Park still
Fenway, I think so. I
operational?
don't know. I can't answer that for sure as I haven't been by there, and so I don't.
No. Yeah.
Who knows? But you see how it is.
By there in 2020 either, 2021 either.
I've been lucky enough to play at Fenway a couple times in different kind of games, and you know, I don't think there's any way that left field line is 310. I don't think that Yankees is 290. You're on the right field line. I think they're shorter, and again, it's because we get back to people love offense, fans love offense, and so we're punishing these guys for cheating to make the game better, to ramp up those home runs, to score more runs. And on the flip side, the other thing that fans like is dominating pitchers who just blow people away with 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. So the game's trying to do it on its own. And here these guys are doing it. And as a whole, it's not like it would be different if it's, 5, 10 guys out of the, massive amount of players, but it's everybody doing the same thing.
It's baseball too. I mean, they didn't like you look at like sometimes I bring things back to the game of golf. I mean, do you realize up until don't quote me on the time. I mean, we'll just say orthotics. What orthotics was illegal on the PGA Tour because it gave
Really?
people an advantage of length or whatever. Not anymore. But I mean, so like again, what's performance enhancing and what's not. Just
So that's funny you said because it's like baseball. Like they try to be so puritanical, right? They try to be so like Puritan, this is cheating. Come on. Like, you want asses in the seats.
Yep.
And go back to, you know, to have, again, and beating a dead horse with this, but this is what
Part of the podcast is for, to beat it. I mean,
really, they're punishing these guys in the Hall of Fame, yet they lifted Sosa and McGuire up on a pedestal. And if you don't think that, who was it, Bud Selig at the time? These guys, you don't think they knew that these guys are taking something? Come on, dude. Really? Like, really?
For the home run derby, didn't they make the baseball smaller and harder at Fenway Park? That was a rumor. I mean, why are you doing that?
Well, I can tell you this. I've seen the baseballs. I've had Major League Baseballs and All-Star Game baseballs. The Major League Baseball, now, it's just a better quality ball. And I don't know if you know this, but, all the rage right now is the flat seam. You want flat seams. And now, I always knew that flat seams were better. I can't say always. And I was a kid, I would think, the higher the seams, the better you can get a grip. You can really throw a good curveball at this. Well, no, the flatter the seams, the more spin you're going to get. And the more spin you're going to get, the more movement you're going to get, right? You can't take a Major League Baseball next one and throw it. It's hard to throw the thing straight. It's going to move some way, right? Depending on how you're holding it. It's the same with traditional backspin. You're going to get more spin. That thing's going to go. They wind those so tight. Right. The seams are completely flat because they want them to be able to be thrown faster, hit harder, hit farther. Boom. Right. And then the All-Star Game ones, allegedly, I've heard that they've reduced the size of or grown the size of the cork and the inside, right? And, make it more spongy, whatever. I wouldn't doubt it. But, they lifted these guys up who saved the game, and now they're going to punish them. And it's not right.
So the wood of the bats are better, right? Like, it's just, I mean, it's insane. So, I mean, when Jim Rice played, I'm sure that it's different than the wood that's played now. I mean, it's just, there's all of these things. To me, again, it comes down to cancel culture. They're not in because they're not liked.
Right. So people said that they cheated, and that's the thing. Right. And everyone, of course, has a voice now. But again, how deep are we going to get? Because when it starts coming out that maybe people who didn't have prescriptions for Adderall were taking Adderall, or maybe we're taking more than their prescribed dose, or maybe had a prescription because they had a friend who was a doctor or whatever. Because now I don't know this for a fact, but from what I understand, from what I hear, it's not a hard prescription to get, right?
Now, especially now, like labeling on everybody, or not labeling. Yeah, you can. I mean, there are so many children that are on this drug. It's insane.
Correct. Yeah. And look, there's people that need it, so I'm not, I'm not trying to disparage it in any way, but it is an enhancer. It is an enhancer. And by the way, even if it's someone that if you really do need it and without it, would you be in big league baseball?
Correct.
If that's true, is that not a performance enhancer?
Right.
How is it not? How is video analysis not a performance enhancer? How is pine tar not a performance enhancer? They're all of them. And the other one too, had Lasix been around, Jim Rice, Boston Red Sox guy, plays another 5 years successfully, like at the top of his game. He's up among the all-time home run leaders easily. Easily.
Say Reggie Jackson, same thing.
Reggie Jackson, same thing. Absolutely, right. And not, those are just two, and I'm sure there's dozens of those guys.
Had another person who had vision issues.
Who was that?
Kirby Puckett.
Yeah. So so nowadays that's not such a big deal. You go and get Lasix, you got 20/20 vision. In fact, now there's guys who have 20/20. When I was younger, I had like 20/15 vision, and when I actually 20/12, I think, in the left eye. And guys that already have excellent vision are getting Lasix, and now they're having like supervision.
Right.
Like supervision. So I heard someone had 27 vision, 20/7. I don't know if this is true or not. This was I kind of didn't believe it, because I'm thinking, because you know what the whole 20/20 means, right? So whatever you see 20 feet away looks 20 feet away.
Right.
7 feet away, 20 feet. Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
So I want to segue for a last little.
Yeah.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about what happened as predicted on our show, what happened on Sunday, where Tom Brady at 472 years old
Yep.
um, went to a new team without, in the middle of a pandemic, without a preseason, with all new teammates, a new coach, a new system, and brought a team that was, middle of the pack. Their last quarterback led the entire last 3 seasons in interceptions in 1 year, Jameis Winston, and he brought that team to the Super Bowl on Sunday night and beat the machine known as the Kansas City Chief handily.
Handily.
I was talking about they were also stopped on the goal line, at the 1 foot line, or it would have been even
That's
worse.
right. That's
And,
right.
Again, he makes rarefied company with 7 or more championships, 3 or more league MVPs, and that's Barra, Mantle, DiMaggio, Bill Russell, and now Tom Brady.
So, and these are going to continue, I'm sure. These, what do you call them? Like these comparisons to Tom Brady and these. I'm trying to find something that our good producer Ryan Gagne Frutis sent to me recently, and I am going to find it, and it because it blew me away when he sent it. Sorry, I know exactly where I'm going to find it. I think he sent this to me actually.
Is it a Tom stat?
On Facebook is a Tom Brady stat. And of course I brought it up and I mentioned it. Now I'm not going to be able to find it. God damn. So I will ultimately find it.
This is a good thing. Do you remember it in your old age? Because
I don't want to mess it up. It's too good. It's
Super
too
Bowl.
good. I'm going to give it one more try here. And if I don't see it, then I don't see it. But it was
your birthday, right? So happy birthday, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And yours is tomorrow. So happy birthday to you as well.
True, but thank you.
So there's a couple things. So one of them that I think Ryan may have even mentioned last podcast that Tom Brady has played in just shy of 20% of all Super Bowls ever played. Right. So this one was there's only like 4 quarterbacks in the history of football who have played in as many Super Bowls as Tom Brady has lost.
That right. I mean,
right.
I mean, they were talking about, Mahomes is going to be, where is he going to be in the Brady, dude, off the bus. All right. He's not on it. He's not, no, that's it. Stop. I mean,
did you hear Mahomes, what he said to Brady as soon as he caught up with him in midfield?
No.
And I rewound it a couple times. I was like, I think I just heard that right. Very first thing. You're a legend. That's what he says. You're a legend. Yes. And of course he is. I mean, it's absolutely legendary what he's doing. It's become silly. Like no one's even talking. I thought it was interesting. There was no one out there saying, well, look, he's obviously the GOAT now. It was already a foregone conclusion, conclusion that he was and is the best of all time.
We'll just never see that in any lifetime. What?
How about this one? How about Tom Brady is more likely to make it to the Super Bowl than Steph Curry is to making a 3-pointer? Right? It's like 46% of the time Tom Brady goes to the Super Bowl, and Steph Curry's 3-point percentage is like 43%. So if he goes next year, if Tom Brady does make the Super Bowl next year, I think it's almost exactly. I think it's right at 50%.
You have to stop playing Super Bowls. That's it. Like
it's silly.
Called the Brady Bowl, and that's it. And then, how the NFL used to have the NFL championship, then the Super Bowl name, or else it's like just call it something different and move on.
Right.
Yeah, it's just
don't make it sound so elite because he's really making a mockery of it. If he makes it next year, he'll be 50% of his seasons he'll been in the Super Bowl, and 75% of the time he's in the championship game. 75%
in Tecmo Bowl. Remember we couldn't, if you ran Bo Jackson down, couldn't tackle him.
Yep, couldn't tackle him. Yep, and you had Todd Christensen in case some did tackle. You could go over the top to Todd Christensen.
Well, this was good, Mike. I think we gave some our opinions on some valuable information and of a topic that I think certainly needs to be talked about. One more little tidbit from our guest last week, Ben Bills, the perfect game. I just heard before coming on the air that he hit. It was 3 for 3 in the first game of a double header today, and those 3 hits were all home runs. So it's crazy. The kid's just having a February from I don't know what. That's just crazy. So
No, and I think I'd like to. I think a good one to talk about next time too, and I like that we do this recorded version, where we can kind of just rant a little bit about a topic that sort of forefront in our minds and we're passionate about. I'd love to do one, Kevin, on how metrics have changed the game, and the reason I bring that up is because of, as you know, one of our homegrown players at the farm, who's being scouted quite heavily now by many of the major league organizations. He's breaking ceilings in terms of what you're able to do to a baseball with a bat, and even throwing the ball. I think he's got a measured velocity at 99 miles an hour recently out of the arm. So anyway,
that'd be great because a lot of people don't know. And I'm not. I mean, look at. I teach pitching. I don't even know half of this stuff like that. Like these, I know spin rate is, but what's good, what's bad, what's this, what's that, even stuff like, I think we can. I want to know what like WAR is. WAR, wins over.
Wins over replacement. Yeah,
it's replacement. The guy on the bench. The guy, like, what does that mean?
Right.
So all that kind of stuff. I think that would be a great show. That'd be a great show. So stay tuned for that, people.
Yep. All right. This has been fun.
All right, man. Good night.
All right, Kev. Good night.
Yeah.